I'm sitting in the ruins of myself, surrounded by the echoes of who I used to be. The dust of old battles clings to my hands, and every dream feels too far to reach. I've tried to stand on shaking hope, but the ground keeps pulling me down again. I whisper prayers through broken breath, wondering if heaven still hears my name. The memories burn like fading embers, moments that once held light now hurt to touch. I've carried mountains made of silence, trying not to say I've had enough. But even in this place of ruin, where my heart is thin as paper skin, I sense a sound that cuts the dark, a voice that calls me back again. It rises softly like a sunrise, moving gently through the dust. A tone so full of mercy, it teaches me to trust. 'Cause your voice lifts me from the ashes, calls my name and breathes me life. Where I felt forgotten, shattered, you rebuild what once had died. Your voice lifts me from the ashes, pulls me out of where I've been. And when I hear you speak my name, my heart begins again. I never knew a whisper could carry so much fire and grace. I never knew that brokenness could be the start of being remade. But you step into my emptiness with hands that know how scars are healed. You turn the dust into a promise and write my future on. What you rebuild, and in the breath between my cries, I feel your presence settle in, soft as mercy, strong as hope, thawing places frozen within. 'Cause your voice lifts me from the ashes, calls my name and breathes me life. Where I felt forgotten, shattered, you rebuild what once had died. Your voice lifts me from the ashes, pulls me out of where I've been. And when I hear you speak my name, my heart begins again. Call me out of every shadow, pull me from what burned me down. Teach my soul to rise again, to run where I once feared the ground. Every time your voice surrounds me, every time you say my name, I feel the dust fall off my spirit. I feel the fire grow again. Your voice lifts me from the ashes, calls me back to who I am. You gather all my scattered pieces, hold them gently in your hands. Your voice lifts me from the ashes, turns my ruin into light. And every time you speak my name, you resurrect my life. My voice trembles in the dark. I try to pray, but nothing comes. The room feels heavy as my chest, and every thought becomes a storm. I sit inside this quiet ache, lost in the echo of my own breath. I whisper hope, but it slips away, and I can't tell what's left of me. But in the space where I break, I feel a warmth behind the pain, like heaven leaning close, calling my heart by name. When my name falls into silence, your name lifts me from the ground. When I can't find strength to rise, your whisper turns my world around. When my name falls into silence, your name writes me back to life. And in the quiet of my soul, you lift me every time. I walk through shadows made of fear, the kind no one else can see. Nights that stretch like endless roads, begging my soul to just believe. I look for answers in the dark, but only find your gentle light. Soft as a tear on broken skin, warm as the dawn after a long night. And in the ache where I drown, I feel your hands pulling me near, like a promise breathing inside, telling my heart you're here. When my name falls into silence, your name lifts me from the ground. When I can't find strength to rise, your whisper turns my world around. When my name falls into silence, your name writes me back to life. And in the quiet of my soul, you lift me every time. You find me first when I have no words. Your love becomes my verse. When I break again, you hold my heart so still, teaching the storm to bow to your will. When my name falls into silence, your name lifts me once again. You gather all my scattered pieces and breathe me back to who I am. When my name falls into silence, your name writes me back to life. And in the quiet of my soul, you lift me every time. Every time. The night is heavy on my chest. I hear my heart beat louder than my thoughts. I try to breathe, but the air feels thin, and every shadow grows inside of me. My mind keeps running without rest, carrying memories I can't let go. I whisper prayers that break halfway, like tired tears falling slow. I sit inside this silent room where the dark feels closer than my hope. My hands tremble like small confessions, trying to hold what's slipping through. I close my eyes to calm the storm, but the storm keeps finding me. And all I want is a single spark, a little breath that sets me free. But somewhere deep beneath the fear, a fragile flame begins to rise, soft as mercy, warm as dawn, a light awakens. your light breaks into the dark, where I tremble, where I fall, in the place where my fear turns into light. You come and silence every call. Your light invades the shadows in me, bringing peace where I can't fight. And in the place where my fear turns into light, I finally breathe again tonight. The things I hide behind my smile, the doubts I never let escape, they melt like frost beneath your touch, as if heaven stepped inside my chest. You paint the night a softer blue, and suddenly I'm not alone. Every worry loses power when your presence fills this room. And in the space where I collapse, your love grows wild enough to heal, turning tremble into courage, turning chaos into still. 'Cause your light breaks into the dark, where I tremble, where I fall, in the place where my fear turns into light. You come and silence every call. Your light invades the shadows in me, bringing peace where I can't fight. And in the place where my fear turns into light, I finally breathe again tonight. Let your fire rise inside me, let it chase away my night. Take the weight that keeps me crying, fill my chest with holy light. And if the fear returns tomorrow, I'll trust the flame you left behind. 'Cause once your glory touched my darkness, I knew I'd never stay the same. Your light breaks into the dark, where I tremble, where I fall, in the place where my fear turns into light. I hear your whisper over all. Your light invades what once was shadows, and everything wrong becomes right. In the place where my fear turns into light, you turn my trembling into light. I've carried names that weren't mine, voices that carved shadows in my skin. Every whisper of shame stayed longer than the truth I kept within. I learned to hide behind the silence, to fold myself inside the pain, thinking I was only what they said, that every scar would still remain. I walk through memories like broken glass, trying not to bleed again. Old words echoed in my chest, telling me I'd never change. But even in the weight of all the lies, something gentle stirred inside, a breath too soft to understand, yet strong enough to revive. And in the cracks of who I am, your mercy touches every line, like a hand that turns the page to rewrite a heart in time. used to fear the mirror's truth, afraid to face the story shown. But now I see the grace you wrote in chapters I thought were undone. You take the names that weighed me down and whisper ones I've never heard, calling me chosen, calling me whole, rewriting all my world. And in the places I collapse, your presence builds me up again, turning every hidden bruise into a testimony written in flame. 'Cause your breath rewrites me, and every scar becomes a promise. Where I once carried wounds, now you plant gardens of your kindness. Your breath rewrites me, making new what once was broken. And every tear that fell before now rises as a holy token. Rewrite my fears, rewrite my name, erase the words that brought me shame. Let every breath you give to me be proof that I am finally free. Rewrite my past with endless grace, restore the joy I thought I'd lost. Your breath became my healing place, the page redeemed at any cost. Your breath rewrites me, and every scar becomes a promise. What once was pain now blooms with hope, held together by your kindness. Your breath rewrites me, and I'm not who I used to be, for in the story of your love, you wrote a brand new version of me. I feel myself unraveling slowly, pieces falling where no one sees. I try to smile, but it fades away, lost somewhere between the hurt and me. The night sits heavy on my chest like a memory I cannot run, and every breath feels like a prayer. I'm too tired to speak aloud. I press my hands against my heart, hoping the cracks don't spread too far. I've carried storms behind my ribs, and sometimes they roar too hard. But in the quiet of this breaking, something gentle finds my pain. A presence warm as rising dawn, whispering softly through the ache. It's not a touch I see or hear, but it settles deeper than my skin. A tenderness that lifts my soul from places I had hidden within. When the world falls down around me, heaven holds me from within. When my strength is barely breathing, your embrace becomes my skin. When the weight feels far too heavy and I don't know how to begin, when the world falls down around me, heaven holds me from within. I've tried to stand with trembling knees, afraid to show how weak I feel, but somehow you walk into my ruins, making every fracture real. Not to shame me, not to break me, but to love me where I'm undone, to turn my fear into When my strength is barely breathing, your embrace becomes my skin. When the weight feels far too heavy and I don't know how to begin, when the world falls down around me, heaven holds me from within. Hold me in the places broken, touch the wounds I try to hide. Let your nearness still my trembling, let your kindness stay inside. When I have no voice to whisper, let your love become my breath. 'Cause every time I fall apart, you gather me with holy hands. When the world falls down around me, heaven holds me one more time. In the silence, in the shadows, your embrace becomes my light.